welcome back to Damn Parenting. I'm your host, Eva, and I'm so glad you're joining me for this episode. This Men's Mental Health Week, we're creating space for something simple but powerful, real conversations with fathers about how they're really doing. In the Netherlands, nearly 1 in 6 fathers report symptoms of parental burnout, and up to 1 in 4 may experience postpartum depression within the first 6 months after the birth of their child. Yet, even with these numbers, the silence around men's mental health is still loud. Today we're joined by 2 fathers from our international community, each with a powerful story. One faced the emotional weight of having a newborn in the NICU, while the other opens up about raising a young family while managing life with ADHD. Though the experiences may differ, they each show how deeply fathers carry what often goes unseen. This episode is about to get real, about burnouts, overwhelm, and the quiet battles so many fathers face, but often keep to themselves. Because strength isn't about staying silent, and vulnerability isn't limited by gender. Talking about what we carry isn't a sign of weakness, it's a step towards connection, healing, and support. These conversations aren't just important, they're human. So grab a coffee, take a breath, and let's get into it. Joining me today are Christo and Liam. Christo, Liam, welcome to Damn Parenting.
Thank you, Eva.
Yeah, hi. Hi, how you doing?
Hi. Let me ask you both. Let's get a bit of context on your backgrounds. How many kids do you have, where you're actually from, where your partner's from, and how did you end up here in the Netherlands?
Oh, my goodness. So, hi, I'm Christo, 43, dad of an amazing little girl called Olivia. And I am originally South African, moved to the Netherlands in 2007, really work related. I'm in the construction industry. That's another boring story. But yeah, been living here since 2007, had a short stint living in the UK for 2.5 years between 2009 and 2012. And moved back to the Netherlands and just been here ever since. Love living here.
Where's your partner from?
My wife's name is Tony. Some people might know her. She's in the doula environment, an amazing woman. I met her here. She's British. We used to work together, and that's how we met. And it's been history ever since, just been making memories.
Beautiful. And Liam, how about yourself?
Hi, I'm Liam. I moved to the Netherlands about 12 years ago. Concurrently, around the same time, my partner, Vivi, from Greece, moved to the Netherlands. We decided to fall in love with each other and not for someone from the actual place. And we have 2 beautiful children together, Jonas and Ellie, who are almost 4 and 18 months. I work at Adyen as a tech trainer. I'm also a performer, kind of. I'm a stand-up comedian.
Which everyone will hear in this episode.
I hope so. Please validate me. And yeah, I'm also a skipper. I'm a skipper for Warm Heart Sauna, a floating sauna on a Sloter Plus.
Lovely. So let's see. Can either, whoever wants to take this off, can you take us back to a moment when you started to feel like something actually might have been off in your situation? Maybe you were running on empty or just not feeling like yourself. What does it look like, or what does it feel like to you?
I think I was literally running on empty. I'm recently recovering from a burnout. I'm reintegrating into my company, but I was probably burnt out for a couple years, maybe longer. I had my wonderful first child. It was lovely, but things were getting harder and harder. And I kind of misdiagnosed myself as being lazy. And I just then decided to run. And I learned how to run 10Ks, learned how to run half marathons, still felt lazy. Learned how to run marathons, still felt lazy. Learned how to run ultra marathons, still felt lazy. And then I found out I have ADHD. So my coping mechanism kind of kept me from breaking for a while. But when I did break, I was just useless. And it's one thing I kept reading every time when I put my kids to sleep is from The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. And it was like, what was the bravest thing you've ever said? I said the boy, help, said the horse. I'd read that over and over again. And it took me so long to get to a point where I can go help. Like, I'm struggling. And then it all just hits. And then it's like, yeah, when you've been backing it off for so long, when you actually do kind of like give in, then it takes a long time to kind of like come back. But I have a wonderful supportive partner and our wonderful kids, and they've helped me so much. Yeah, that was my thing.
And Christo?
Great, thanks, Liam. I think I've got a double hit, and I'll explain that. So I obviously became a dad in 2018, and there was a story on here. You did an interview with my wife. It was a difficult birth, and long story short, we spent a lot of time in hospital. It was not the beautiful birth that you see on TV. And everyone's happy and the wife is glowing and the dad's smiling. It was nothing like that. It was a very cold hospital environment for 3 months and not the introduction to becoming a dad for the first time that I ever thought it would be. And my struggles began when my wife went to hospital because I didn't understand how to deal with that. Because you don't think about that when that moment hits you. You are in an absolute go, go, go. There's nothing else to think about. You've got to be strong. Wife's not doing well. Doctors around you all the time. You've just got to remain strong. And while you're doing that, your energy levels is just draining and draining and draining. You're right. Liam said it. You are running on empty. You don't know how to ask for help because you don't know what to ask for. People would come and say to you, hey, just let me know if I can help you. I haven't got a clue what to ask for. I think back now and I go, yeah, I would have asked people to go and do my shopping, buy me food. I was living in a house that was being renovated. It was like Dexter. I used to pull plastic sheets off my bed to sleep at night and then put it back on in the mornings when I went back to the hospital. I would have 2-3 hours sleep every night. This went on for 3 months. So at some point your body gives in, but you don't even recognize that. So not to waffle too much about that, I got to a point where Olivia came home. Tony came home, she was still recovering, and I started getting back into work, and I noticed that I was just not wired correctly. I was not processing what's happening at work. I was not focused on what's happening at work, constantly worried, constantly having a feeling of dread, constantly wanting to go home or understand what's happening, the pressure of not being at home and leaving Tony to look after Olivia, and also making doctor's appointments and specialist appointments just really started to grate on me. And it got to a point where effectively we were in hospital because Olivia wasn't sleeping. We had lots of issues with sleeping and she was a lot of crying, and we were recommended to go to the hospital for like a sleep test where Olivia was there for, I think, 3 or 4 nights. And we were in this hospital for 3 or 4 nights. Nurses were making all sorts of notes about how Olivia was sleeping. And then at the end of it, there was this meeting. The specialist, she's a very well-known pediatric specialist in the Netherlands. She came to have this conversation with us, and I lost it with this woman. I swear the air blew. I was so upset that my wife and daughter got taken out of a safe family environment to be stuck in this hospital again. I just had lots of triggers from 3 months in hospital, then we're out, then we're back in. And the doctor was amazing because she listened to me rant for 10 minutes at her, really not very pleasant. I was incredibly rude to her. And she said, have you spoken to someone? I said, why the fuck do I need to speak to anyone? And I went home, and that's when I realized things are broken. Like things is not great. And that was the first moment in my life that I realized this is not going great. And I ended up seeking support. I went to our huisarts and I got booked off. And I went to a great psychologist, a company called Siege en Zwangerschap, who is based in Amsterdam. And it was an amazing journey with him. And that was my very first experience of understanding my own emotions as a man, because it never occurred to me that that sort of thing would happen to me. I would never have looked myself in the mirror and go, mate, it's not weak, but you're broken. That's sort of my first introduction to it.
I was going to ask what stopped you from speaking up earlier, or what finally helped you ask for support. But yeah, yours is a bit different.
Yeah, people around me was incredibly supportive. My wife saw through all of it as well. She's an incredible support to me, very connected to herself, very self-aware. I think my self-awareness has always been mediocre at best. I think as a male, growing up in a very male traditional environment in South Africa, men don't cry, men look after families. We are the providers. We have to remain strong, hunter-gatherer sort of mentality. That, the bumps and bruises you just don't mention because you don't think to mention it. You don't think it's important. It's not important to talk about my feelings. I need to make sure that my wife and daughter is okay.
But you mentioned that you couldn't even identify your own feelings.
No, I didn't see it. I didn't see it until that doctor literally looked me straight in the eye and went, mate, have you spoken to anyone? And I had to let that sink in. I had to digest that. I went away from that. And then, my wife said to me, you need to make an appointment at the house and just go and speak to her and see what she says. And I remember going to this appointment thinking, what am I going to tell this doctor? Because I don't even know where to start. I don't even know how to start saying what's happening inside of me. Like I don't, because I'm not connecting with me. Like I'm not connecting with those emotions because I've always buried those emotions very, very deep. Like if a traumatic experience happens in your life as a younger person, as a young man growing up in the environment that I did, I'm nurtured not to really open that box and share it. Don't speak to my friends about it. If people ask me how you're doing, yeah, I'm fine. That's literally it. It's like it's the common sentence that, mental health, red flags, I'm fine. And I said that for years.
And Liam, when did you start to acknowledge your feelings, and what did reaching out or beginning to take care of yourself actually look like? Like what happened or maybe even surprised you about that part of the process?
Well, I thought I was faking it. I thought I literally thought I was lazy and stuff like that. I thought by going to a company doctor and stuff like that and talking to him, I felt like I was misleading her. Like I was saying with the things I was feeling, but wasn't truly believing them. What Christo said earlier, like how can he know what to do because we've not seen it? It's not been modeled to us. Like I've listened to a lot of your episodes about mattresses and stuff. It's not nowhere near as big for men, but there is a shift, and we tend. I do. I know enough people that they tend to reject it a bit and just kind of carry on and just yeah. We don't know how to check in on ourselves because not being fine is weakness, and it just takes time, and it does take modeling as well, and it's something I really really want to do for my son because I'm actually the way we're parenting him, like I'm excited for his future because I know how all my emotions when I was a kid. I'm still the kid I used to be. I know that, and through therapy, I've kind of brought that back up, and it's been wonderful. But it's been a big journey. Like I like growing up with fueled by toxic masculinity. It's a fuel. It works for a while until it doesn't. And then what do? You have a midlife crisis, or now we have burnouts or something like that. I was just listening to Christo there. Like it takes so many big moments, big signs saying get some help, and even still the big sign is still like we still need the help. Get into the help
Yeah.
because we don't see it. It's not obvious to us. Yeah, it's a crazy thing.
And it sounds like it happened to both of you at around similar stages in your parenting life. Like it was in the first year, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Like life has got more and more difficult, and the old ways of doing it, the old ways of getting through life don't work anymore. I mean, you could disassociate from your kids and then just be dad, or like just be like the breadwinner or something like that. But that's not how you do it now. Like you're there, you're present, and presence takes a lot.
So taking time for yourself or slowing down can actually feel like a very big shift. How did either of you change the way you approached parenting or for yourself? And how did it affect your relationship with your partner?
Oh, very interesting question. I would be honest in saying when I had the time out after my daughter was born and I sort of like took on the support and tried to understand why I'm feeling this way and working through that was about a period of 3 months. I think one of the key things my psychiatrist told me at that time was take time for yourself by just going for a walk and not like going to the shops with a purpose, but literally just walking. I did that maybe once or twice. I wasn't hugely into it. I lost myself on silly apps and stuff on my phone to, you know, ignore what's happening around me. But my parenting style, now that's an interesting one for me. I think in the beginning, I was incredibly scared and nervous, and I think it also really made me short-tempered. It made me closed off. I kept a lot of things in, so it really affected my relationship with my wife, with Tony. I think, you know, I just didn't share anything with her. I didn't talk to her. I would have a conversation with her, but I'm not talking to her and telling her what's happening inside of me and how I'm feeling, because it's just again, I'm not used to talking about those things. I'm not from a family environment where we share those sorts of feelings as a guy, as a bloke. So it was a very hard readjustment to accept that I'm not going to know everything. I'm not going to be good at everything related to parenting, and I've got to take it in my own pace. So I tried to find moments to be on my own and be okay with my own company. Going for walks was what I tried to do. Getting lost in a game on my phone or whatever to just block out the world was also something that I did. I enjoy podcasts, so I listen to podcasts all the time. True crime podcasts. Probably not a great way to support a low mental health, but it is really each individual's own journey. What works for me might be interesting for someone to go, oh, okay, maybe I should do that. But it's really what you are comfortable with. But I think before you even approach the subject of what can I do, you've really got to understand and accept that you've got a problem, you've got a challenge. I mean, saying I've got problems sounds a bit like I'm an alcoholic, but you have a challenge. You have to understand where that comes from. And I didn't do that during those 3 months. I just went through a process. I went through EMDR therapy and got rid of the triggers I had, which was related to the beeps and noises of the hospital. I couldn't stand it. My microwave beeped once, and I nearly threw it out the window because I lost it, because it just triggered me from sitting next to Tony and listening to beep, 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 beep all the time for a month before Olivia was born. And that was a big deal for me to get rid of in the first sort of time that I took out. But my demons came back, and they came back last year. You sort of go through life and you pave over cracks and you think, I'm all right. And then you get to maybe a challenging situation in your life, in another aspect of your life, maybe your work life. In my case, it was my work life. And it really made a lot of my old demons bubble back up to the surface, things that I never dealt with during the first moment when I cracked. And this time round, I took 6 months out, and I took time out. I stepped away from my job. I completely shut myself off from anything that's going to take my attention and focus away from me and my family. I became a house husband, which I absolutely loved. I doted over my wife and daughter all the time. I filled my days with taking my daughter to play dates and becoming incredibly busy. And then my wife says to me, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I'm just busy all the time." But I found a life coach, and I found an amazing life coach that I absolutely have split open my soul to understand why I have certain behaviors. And 6 months later, I can talk very freely about things that I have had issues with for a long time. And to be very open, it's things like being liked by other people or being a yes man. These are things that caused me a lot of issues through my life, but I never connected the two until I actually really sat down and explored it. And I guess the point of why I've got such a long story is, if you have an opportunity to take time out and understand your soul, your emotions as a man in today's life, really take a step back and do that. I literally just fell into a process, 7 years ago, and I just went through it, got the EMDR therapy out of the way. Triggers are dealt with. I can talk about my daughter's birth without crying. I'm okay. No, I wasn't, because I went back into work and the same behavior started to come out of me a year later, 2 years later. And then, 6.5 years later, I'm on the floor. My mental health this time last year was shocking. It was probably the most scared I've ever been about myself in my entire life, because nothing in my life felt positive. The only thing I clinged on to was my wife and daughter. And taking that time out, focusing on myself and telling myself, I have got to improve my self-awareness as a man. I've got to understand why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling and why I'm responding the way I'm responding. And I delved into that. And my wonderful wife found me a life coach probably a year before that moment and said, "You got to contact this guy." I went, yeah, all right, I will. And, the moral of the story was probably listen to my wife more. But I think I took on that journey, I took on that challenge, and it was an amazing support to me. And I still use that life coach today. I still speak to him once a month, but for the first time in my life, I understand how to use that person. And that's meant a lot to me.
Thank you for that. I get a lump in my throat when you talk about your child's birth as well, still. So I can't imagine what it was for you. Liam, you spoke about how you went on burnout. Can you talk about then about slowing down and how's this changing your way in your approach to parenting and also your relationship with your partner?
So with the burnout, yeah. So I had 6 months off, and it took some time to get over the shame of feeling like I wasn't producing in a certain arena in my life. Like I wasn't able to produce. But I've done enough therapy in like and read enough and tried enough stuff. I've thrown enough shit at the wall to see what sticks. Like I've tried all the bro science and stuff, all of them, of course. But like I found out I like breath work. So breath work works. The Wim Hof stuff, that's nice. The cold plunges, that's nice. I don't have to talk about misogyny while I do it. We can take we can take that out of the bro science. But yeah, doing ADHD therapy or getting diagnosed and then doing the therapy for it, it kind of accelerated the burnout kind of like when I got my diagnosis, when I started doing the therapy, like all the stuff I was holding off, it started to be unpicked with the therapy because we were actually addressing things. Because when Krista was saying, like, when he was saying about addressing his triggers and stuff, like that makes sense. In like 5 years ago, yeah, you just get rid of the triggers. But now, having gone through all this therapy, you're like, no, the triggers are there. That you're putting medicine on it, but you're not fixing it. You're just dumbing it down, or like it's still there. It's still bubbling up. It's still there. It's not just a family thing of being brought up. It's the society, and that's still there. I've gone a bit lost now. I'm sorry. But yeah, with the burnout, after I could get over the shame of being broken, when I started actually talking about it, is when things started going quite well because I was almost rejecting it before then, but then I kind of accepted, like, cool, and I was given more time to spend with my children. So all the learnings, knowledge, all this kind of stuff I've learned in life, forget the past, don't worry about the future, just be present. Just be present. And the therapy helped with the past, like how I was brought up. The time off helped with the future because I'm like, Daddy don't have to go anywhere. And then I could just zone in and just be present with my kids. And I went from I will toot my own horn. I went from a good dad to a great dad. Like everyone needs this. Everyone needs some sort of like, and that's what's getting me. Like parenting these days, it feels like an uneven equation. You're borrowing from one side to fix the other side. You want to be working. You want to be a great dad. You can't do all of it. And so if you keep, you can, or you can for a while, or you can find new ways. You can do coping mechanisms. You can drink, you can smoke, you can go running for fucking, sorry, for hours. Like you can do all these things, but eventually you can't because it doesn't work. It doesn't balance out, and you're just gonna, and that's it. I forgot where I was going with this. I mean, I'm a bit ADHD. I'm playing the card. I'm playing the card. But it's the burnout was possibly the best thing to ever happen to me, which is sounds ridiculous, but it's a consequence of how things are. And the more yeah, here we go. The more I talk about it, the more I'm vulnerable. I had this thought in my head where I was like, I'm marked. I'm marked as weak. I'm marked as burnt out. Nah, I am marked, but that's good. That's I can give space to others because we're all struggling. Kids, no kids, whatever. We've been through COVID. This is turning into a rant, sorry. But we're all struggling. There's a hangover from COVID. There's a lot of stuff. And it doesn't matter. We're all struggling. And allowing space for people to be open, especially for men, because we're dum-dums. We haven't learned it properly. We're learning, but we're very far behind, is massive. And it's my burnout's almost given me a bit of purpose. Like I can make people laugh with comedy, but I can also make people happy with themselves just by allowing them to talk and talk to someone who looks like a bloody ruffian and stuff like that, a big beard or whatever, but is actually a big, like, kind of gooey. And I'll cry with them. I like crying stuff.
So you're speaking there about vulnerability. Christo, can you explain what vulnerability might look like to you then? Not just the idea, but actually like day to day. Are there moments where you catch yourself showing up differently than you might have before?
Explain vulnerability. I think my vulnerability becomes my quietness. I lock myself away in my head. I would literally be at the office in a toxic environment and just stop talking, stop communicating. I would be in a difficult conversation and literally not interact. I'd have a complete closure in my throat. I would just stop talking. I'd stop sharing with my wife. I would be incredibly quiet. I would spend more time in the kitchen just to be on my own, away from people. I would not even pick up the phone to call friends. I would not even respond to people on WhatsApp for weeks. Uh, that wasn't the case with you, Liam, I promise. I think at the end of the day, 8 years ago, I had no idea that that's what I was doing, but I was doing it. And when I'm at the office and you're doing office talk, you're just not actually recognizing that you're not there. I think Liam just he said it really well. It's being present. I become not present. I'm sitting next to my wife on the sofa and it's like I'm not there. And that was the peak of my vulnerability. Sleep becomes a big issue for me. I end up staying up for hours and hours, go to bed at like 3 o'clock in the morning, having not slept, and then I try and sleep, and then I'm up by 6. and then you function, and then you go through the day, and then when you get home, your tiredness kicks in, and you welt. You just completely go down the tube. So I think that's, I guess, the most honest answer I could give you is my quietness. I lock myself away. I just don't engage with people. I think which is probably the worst thing you can do, because that's the moment you should say to someone, hey, you know what, I'm not feeling great. Like I'm really, really low. I would have conversations with my parents. They'd be like, how are you doing? I'm fine. I am fine.
Mm.
Biggest lie ever.
You build up the wall, like you build up a wall.
Yeah.
If you address it, then you've got to deal with it, kind of thing. But you build up the wall, like, and you're just like, I'm fine. I don't have to think about this. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine because it's screaming. It screams at you. Something's not right. Like,
So, between your vulnerabilities, are there anything that you've learned? So, Krista, you've been going to a coach, as you said, and Liam, you've actually done different forms of therapy. Are there anything that has helped you identify your vulnerability and actually help you sit in it, the uncomfortableness of vulnerability, and help you process through whatever feeling you might be feeling?
it's talking. It's something we don't do. I'm talking about for all men, but a lot of men we don't talk because we then would have to address the certain things. So just talking, getting it out. If it stays in your head, it goes all over the place, and it gets warped, and then you just compartmentalize it. Whereas, just like I say, with Christo, with myself, just talking to therapists, having it out in the world and hearing it back. Actually, hearing it back is like a sanity check sometimes. Just even just that small thing that possibly women would take for granted because there's a lot more talking, and there's a lot more sharing of emotions, and you're used to it. It's a skill. It is a skill, and we don't do it as men generally. Like,
I agree. I think Liam summed up really well. Me and Liam bonded over, our partners saying, hey, you two need to connect because you guys have similar challenges. And, I think you guys could really, do with a conversation with one another. Here's Liam, who I literally met once because, my wife helped them with the birth of their kids. And I think we first met just having a lunch, and you guys were showing the little baby, and that was fantastic. So here's me and Liam. We organized to see each other one day. We met up at a cafe in Amsterdam, and I think we spent 4 hours talking. We spent 4 hours talking to each other because we just both, I think, had very open-minded sort of idea that we're just going to go and see how this goes. But within the first 10 minutes, me and this guy were just sharing everything about our lives as dudes. Like we were just like sharing the load and the similarities of what we've been going through, and then sharing with one another how we felt in different parts of that. It's about talking. And I don't think that as men, we do that enough. I have an amazing friendship circle. I have an amazing group of friends back home in South Africa and also here in the Netherlands and in the UK and a few other parts of the world. But, growing up with my friends in SA, you did not sit in a pub with a beer and go, so, right, guys, before the rugby starts, yeah, I'm just not feeling very well today. I'm feeling a bit low. They'd literally tell me to take my handbag and go home. They would just not be bothered to explore that more. But that was 20 years ago. I think that has shifted a little bit today, as well as I've seen some hints of the guys sharing a few things with one another. But in general, I just don't think we do that. And I think that's cultivated through how we grow up and the environment that we grow up in. I think for some men it's a lot easier, maybe coming from a household that's a lot more open. If I look at the differences between myself and Tony, for example, she's from a household where they have it out all the time. If they've got an issue, it's on the table, talk about it, deal with it, scream at each other, whatever you need to do. But it might be multiple conversations, but they talk about it and they get it out and it's done and it's dealt with. I'm from a family environment where I don't think we talk about things enough. I think there's a carpet with a huge mound of emotional baggage hidden in my mum's lounge because we just don't share. We pave over the cracks as a family. We don't talk about things, and that was something that was cultivated in me, and that gave me the challenges I had later in my life. So it's about talking. It's learning to talk about that as well. I don't think it's something that just comes easily. As males, as men, we need to learn to share what's going on inside. And I think maybe myself and Liam sort of had a trial period with one another where we were doing that. Hey, how do I talk to this guy about things going on? But he's being very receptive to that, and I'm being very receptive to listen to him. And through that journey, we've connected and we catch up all the time. I think not enough anymore because I'm back into a work routine, but just finding a moment to make time to go and catch up with this guy and shoot the breeze and share how I feel and little ups and downs that I've had over the last 6 months. Me and Liam got to a point where, we'd literally be sharing small little wins with one another. I'd be texting and go, hey, I did this for the first time in 6 years. I feel great about it. He would send me a text and go, hey, I've connected with X, Y, and Z that I haven't done for a long time. I feel amazing. It's those little boosts that kind of feels like, hey, I'm building up my self-awareness. I'm becoming, I'm recognizing what it feels like to build up what's been a bit broken inside. I think the one key thing that I took away from my life coach over the last 6 months has helped me a lot is to understand that within each one of us, male and female, there's self-critique. And self-critique is toxic. Self-critique is that voice in your head, mate, you're just not good enough. And it starts in your work environment, and then it filters into your life, and then it filters into your day-to-day, and you start to doubt everything you do. From running a bath for your daughter, is it hot enough? Is it enough water? To cooking a dinner. Self-critique is a demon that you got to deal with, to put it really, really hard. But it was toxic in me. And I've had to understand how to deal with it and lay down things that I've thought about myself for a long time that no one else have said to me, but I have that in me. It's self-critique. And we all have it. We all have that voice. For others, it's stronger. For me, it was incredibly strong. And last year, it was at its peak. And that self-critique drove me down a dark route because you question everything, everything, everything. You don't listen to people giving you any sort of compliments. What do they know? They're just saying that to make me feel better. I'm rubbish. I'm shit.
Just to add on to that, like we're both very open and honest with each other, and I love listening to his experiences. I love being able to give my experiences to him and it be in a kind of way. I still have a voice in the back of my head saying, "What the fuck are you talking about? Shut the fuck. Just that's my programming. That's my initial programming, and it's taken me years to kind of like it's still there. Whilst he was talking, I was like, "Shut the." Because I wasn't, because I'm in there. I'm. This is me. This is who I am. But I still have this old reflection of who I was and how I was brought up, how society brought me up. So I can literally. I'm looking at my friend and I'm like, shut the fuck up. But I'm not because I'm there. I'm in.
Those listening who are partners, whether they're mothers or fathers or co-parents, what are some ways you can create space for emotional honesty and openness, especially when it might feel challenging or unfamiliar?
Deliberately doing it, actually making it really easy access. So make it a simple thing once a week, possibly. Let's spend this 15 minutes just chatting or just being deliberate with having some space. There is this space here now. We could say what we want to each other, and then there's no kind of like pushback. Just listen. And it's something I should do a hell of a lot more. I think I've done it twice in my life. But I mean, I keep meaning to do it because it's very, very good, but then it's getting into the habit of it. So actually literally saying this is now a space, let's talk. I think that's one. No, but I think that's what we had to do with me and Christo. Like
Oh,
we
you and Christo. But for partners, though,
yeah,
yeah,
I mean for the partners, but I'm saying me and Christo literally did that as well. But our
yeah.
partners helped us do that.
I'll recommend that. I think, Liam is right. You've got to partner up with your partner. I mean, she's an absolute rock in my life. She sees straight through my shields and walls and things that I raise around me, and she very quickly notices when I'm just perhaps not myself because she's come to know who I am, and she's amazing at that. I think what I have to do more is use that ability of my wife to unpick and talk and digest and do that more. We talk often and we talk a lot. I would probably argue the last 3 4 months, we've had a lot going on. Me starting a new job, we're buying a puppy, and life just gets busy. But every so often, we'd have a moment where we just share a few thoughts and talk about it. And I've got to be a bit more forthcoming with that instead of her starting those conversations. I should, which is again, that's because of me and my challenges. I don't think every other guy or person might be that way. But I have challenges with talking about my emotions to others. And that's because I have examples seen and growing up around a dad that is a wonderful man, but doesn't share any of his emotions. And I probably saw him cry 3 times in my life. So I learned through the experience with my wife and seeing how she deals with it to understand also how I talk to her. So I've started to learn to understand how to, this sounds crazy. I've been married for so long and I'm starting to understand how to talk to my wife about my emotions, but it's true. It's really, really true because you can spend years talking about the superficial stuff and being happy, but you know that there's something inside that you got to work at. So but it's talking, and you've got to just be honest. You've got to just share what's on your mind. And I try and do that by, you know, it's great. My wife will say, "How was your day?" "Yeah, it was fine." I think now what I try to do is say, "Yeah, it was great. You know, these meetings, I had this, I had that. Oh, and this happened." I try and focus on key things through the day to share, because that then stimulates other conversation. Just to go, "Yeah, it was all right. I did this, that, and the other." It's kind of like closed. It kills off the conversation. So it starts with talking. And Liam's absolutely right. You've got to just find those moments, connect, and talk.
Can I ask you for something on the other side? So you're both yourselves now are quite open and honestly sharing your vulnerabilities. What about for anyone who's listening who might not be able to see through the mask, and maybe their partner might be just keeping busy and just holding it all together? Is there a way that a partner or a co-parent is able to reach that person?
With determination. I think you heard from Christo, from myself as well. Like we take a lot of signs. Like the signs are right there. Sometimes we need gentle cajoling into these areas where we are still the little children that we used to be. Sometimes we need a little bit. You know your partner better than anybody really. So it's like find ways of helping them to help themselves.
I think if there's someone out there listening that's struggling, caught up in a dark hole, doesn't see the light, doesn't understand how to get out of it, if there's one honest thing you can do, is the next time anyone asks you how you're doing, you say, "I am not fine." And you might find that that person opens up, or you might find that person shies away, but that's okay. We're all wired slightly differently, but do that with someone that you trust, maybe not a stranger in Albert Heijn, but that, when you walk in the door and your partner asks you how you're doing, just stand there and say, "I'm not fine." You don't have to know the rest of the conversation. It's not scripted. This is the ugly, warts and all truth that sits underneath all of us, those layers of guards and walls and shocking exterior structures that we've just got to break down. You've got to just be honest. That moment when someone asks you that you trust, whether it's your mum, your grandma, your partner, or a good friend, or someone that you're familiar with, like me and Liam, it's just to go, "Look, I'm not fine. I am not fine." And see where that goes. Sometimes that first moment of honesty is the one that breaks a lot of barriers and just gets you going. I think that's why, I said it earlier, me and Liam spent the first time we met talking for 4 hours, because I think we both went, "There's no barrier here. There's no filter. I'm just going to share everything. I don't care what this guy thinks about me." And that's the other point. Don't care about what the other people think about it.
I
There's
think that's parenting in general.
yeah.
That's my style of parenting anyway.
Yeah, definitely to deflect less. That's basically, as you say, when someone asks you how you're doing, talk to them. I remember before I really succumbed to the burnout in the office, I remember someone complimenting me on I had a quite funky shirt on. And I love your shirt. I was like, dress for the mental health you want, not the mental health you have. And then just wandered off into the thing. I was screaming it out. It took me so long to kind of just say, you need to rest. It was, yeah, deflect less, definitely.
Wow. So, closing up, what's one thing you'd love people to walk away with from this episode? Who wants to take that first? You're both paused and staring off here, trying to think, I see.
I'm waiting for Captain Jack Sparrow there to say something.
I was trying to be present and I'm not definitely not trying to take some time. I wrote it down many times throughout the years on like notes in my phone to help kind of actually trying to get to it. But I would say vulnerability is a superpower, especially for men. Being vulnerable and being genuine is perfect. And it doesn't need to be grand, doesn't need to be big. It just needs to be small. Going on what Christo said, just if someone says, "How are you doing?" Like, "No, not too good, man." And again, if they shy away, cool, you've got information. But if they don't, you've got a little bit of pressure relieved. Be vulnerable, try small. Don't go too big too quickly. Definitely try small and then just be a bit more deflect less and I'll stop listing things now.
And Krista.
I think if there's anything I want anyone listening to this podcast to sort of digest and as a takeaway, just, you know what, we're all human. And as a man, as a male, we're allowed to also not be okay. We're allowed to also have struggles. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean that you're not conforming to what society wants you to be. I personally think that there's just way too much influence in society today about what a man needs to be and what a woman needs to be. I think you have to be honest to yourself. And I think if you're in a place where you really feel like you need help and you recognize that there's a challenge and you don't recognize the person looking back in the mirror and they've listened to this podcast, find that one person that you think you can open up to and just even walk up to them and say, I am not okay. Can I talk to you? And you will probably find that any person that knows you will say, I'm stopping everything I'm doing, talk to me. Because I found that through my journey, talking to a few of my friends, I've actually got them to also go, crap, I am also struggling. I've got a close friend here who's been going through his own challenges. And when he saw me talking about my challenges, he started opening up to me. So I think let's focus less on what society and Instagram and things wants us to be as men. And I think you can cry, you can be upset, you can wake up in the morning and also feel like you want a tub of ice cream and nothing else, because we are all human. We're all made up of the same things, but we're wired differently and we approach challenges differently. But recognize to yourself that you're allowed to say you're not okay and find that one person that you can talk to, whether it's your partner or a friend. That will start the journey. Yeah, I think that's kind of like hopefully a takeaway that someone will find useful for themselves in this podcast.
Can I just jump on that quickly?
No.
But as you're saying that if something is from childhood is the big boys don't cry, and it's basically big boys can cry. I've dumbed it down a bit, but it is big boys can cry because we were told big boys don't cry. Big boys don't cry. So yeah, big boys can cry.
Thank you so much, Christo and Liam, for showing up so openly and honestly in today's conversation. Your willingness to speak about vulnerability, especially during Men's Mental Health Week, is not just powerful, it's necessary. We hope this episode gave you something meaningful to sit with. Maybe it's a conversation to have with your partner, a gentle check-in with a friend, or a quiet moment of reflection on your own emotional well-being. Wherever it leads you, know that you're not alone. As international families living abroad, mental health isn't just personal. It's deeply intertwined with the strength and connection we bring to our homes, our relationships, and our parenting. Prioritizing men's emotional health helps build the kind of family culture we all want, one rooted in honesty, empathy, and mutual support. If today's episode spoke to you, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to Damn Parenting. Your support helps more people find the podcast, and your reviews help us grow a global community that values these real human conversations. And if someone in your world could benefit from hearing this, a friend, partner, fellow parent, please share this episode with them. Let's keep breaking the silence around vulnerability and mental health together. Thank you for being here, and you'll catch us next time on Damn Parenting.